Ladies and gentlemen, there is a sacred moment just before you fall into sleep, when the veil between the seen and unseen dissolves. In that holy silence, your mind is no longer burdened by effort, nor bound by facts. It is there, in that divine stillness, that you become most open to the whispers of higher wisdom. In that place, wealth does not need to be earned, it is received. Not through strategy, but through state. Not through worry, but through awareness. The world teaches you to chase, but the soul knows only how to attract. And tonight, as you surrender to rest, a greater truth begins to unfold. You are not merely drifting into sleep, you are entering the sacred chamber of creation. It is here that wealth-generating ideas visit you, not as visitors from outside, but as echoes from the infinite within. You are not a beggar in this universe, you are the architect, the conductor, the divine thinker. You do not wait for inspiration to come knocking, you open the door before it arrives. You prepare the room with assumption, with certainty, with the knowing that what you desire is already yours. The world you wake to is shaped in the world you sleep in. Sleep is not an escape. It is a canvas. A womb, a holy place where the soul communes with infinite mind. And in that sacred night temple, ideas arrive. Brilliant ideas, prosperous ideas, ideas soaked in divine timing, ideas that make you rise with clarity, action, and purpose. Let the old story fade, the one that told you money must come hard, that wealth requires exhaustion, that creativity is rare, that you are unworthy of ease. These are shadows. These are myths. They do not belong to the truth of who you are. The truth is, abundance has always lived within you. You do not earn divine ideas. You remember them. They are yours already, waiting in the eternal now, ready to rise like steam from the well of imagination. You are not conjuring them by force. You are magnetizing them by being. Tonight, when your body falls into stillness, let your mind rise in vision. Do not ask how, do not wonder when. Simply lie in the feeling that you are already one with the solution, the idea, the insight that leads to new streams of income. See yourself waking with excitement. Feel yourself writing down an idea so rich it gives you goosebumps. Feel the smile of knowing, a knowing that you did not invent the idea. You received it, because your state made it inevitable. You must begin to see yourself as a vessel of divine intelligence. You are not separate from the mind that created stars and oceans. You are a fragment of it, a mirror, a current through which infinite wealth wants to express itself. Sleep is not the pause of creation. It is its birthplace. It is not the moment of unconsciousness. It is the sanctuary where consciousness rearranges itself, and when you sleep, in the state of receptivity, miracles move toward you, not with noise but with grace. Wealth-generating ideas are not accidents. They are the outpicturing of inner certainty. They do not belong to the lucky. They belong to the aligned. And so tonight, say within, I am the one who receives divine ideas. I am the one through whom wealth flows. I attract ideas in my sleep that bless me and bless the world. Not someday, not hopefully, now. Because it is done. Because I have entered the sacred stillness. Because I have surrendered the doubt. Because I am aligned with the current of creative power that never ceases. And in this moment, as my body prepares for rest, I know the seed is already planted. And by morning, something in me will awaken anew, not because I tried, but because I knew. When the conscious mind grows quiet, the subconscious begins its holy work. While the world sleeps, your inner world becomes alive, alive with instructions, impressions, and manifestations yet unseen. It is in these nighttime hours that your truest beliefs are spoken, not with words, but with feelings. And the subconscious listens not to noise, but to the posture of your soul. What you feel deeply just before sleep is the decree. It is the command that all reality must respond to. The world may forget what you said, but the subconscious never forgets how you felt. This is the sacred rhythm of creation. You plant the seed in imagination. You water it with emotion. You surrender it with sleep. And the subconscious takes it and multiplies it. Not by logic, not by planning, but by law. You do not need to force ideas to come. You need only to impress your inner world with the feeling that they already have. When you sleep as one who knows, the mind moves to make it so. The night becomes a divine laboratory, assembling connections, unlocking memories, drawing together what the waking mind could never strategize. Your subconscious does not argue. It does not question your worth. It accepts the picture you give it and works tirelessly to fulfill it. And so, you must guard what you give it. You must nourish it with visions of plenty, not lack, with images of wealth, not fear, with feelings of gratitude, not desperation. Because what you impress upon the subconscious just before sleep is what you give permission to rise. When you sleep in the identity of lack, you wake to more problems to solve. But when you sleep as the one who has already received, you rise into a life that mirrors that identity. You must no longer take sleep lightly. It is the holiest time of day. It is the gateway through which your reality is rewritten, and if you treat it as sacred, it will reward you as sacred. When you close your eyes tonight, let every worry fall like old leaves. Let the facts of the outer world become as soft as background noise. You do not need them. You do not consult the current bank balance before deciding what to assume. You consult only the inner reality, the truth that says, I attract wealth-generating ideas effortlessly. I am always guided. I am always supported. I am always inspired. You have nothing to prove, nothing to strive for. All that is required is that you impress the right state. And what is that state? It is ease. It is relief. It is the quiet joy of knowing that something wonderful is already unfolding. Let that be the atmosphere you fall asleep in. Not frustration, not anxiety, not calculation, but gratitude, expectancy, sweet surrender. Because the subconscious listens to tone, not tension. It listens to the vibration of your belief. If you sleep in fear, your subconscious will find more reasons to confirm it. But if you sleep in faith, it must gather proof to match your vision. That is the law, that is the covenant, that is the creative agreement written into the fabric of consciousness itself. So tonight, when the lights go out and silence returns, do not simply fall into bed as the person who hoped. Fall into bed as the one who knows, the one who is already receiving, the one who attracts wealth not by effort, but by being. The one who dreams and wakes with divine instruction, because the mind that rests in abundance invites ideas that carry the signature of heaven. A wealth-generating idea is not merely a business plan or a clever tactic. It is a whisper from the divine, a golden thread woven into the fabric of your soul before you were even born. It is not born of ambition, but of alignment. It does not come with noise. It arrives in stillness, wrapped in the energy of purpose. True wealth is not only counted in coins or numbers, it is the effortless expansion of your being, the overflowing of your cup into the world around you. The wealth-generating idea is not an invention, it is a remembrance. You do not chase it, you allow it. You do not find it, you recognize it. It is not the outer action that defines its power, but the vibration behind it, the energy it carries, its harmony with your highest self. The world has taught you to look for opportunities with your eyes wide open, but spiritual wealth comes when your inner eye sees what no one else can see. The ideas that shift your life, that unlock freedom, that bring both value and peace, they come from within, not from strategy, but from spirit. Not from force, but from flow. The soul is never in a hurry, yet it always arrives on time. A wealth-generating idea may look like a thought, a spark, a pull towards something you can't explain, but spiritually it is much more. It is a match in frequency between who you are becoming and what the world is ready to receive from you. It is not about how much money it brings, it is about how aligned it feels, how joyful it is to pursue, how peaceful it feels to execute. This is not hustle, this is harmony. When you align with the wealth-generating current of the divine mind, you do not need to fight for space in the world. You are the space. You do not compete, you create. There is no scarcity in spiritual wealth. There is no fear of losing, no tension in receiving. Because these ideas are not borrowed, they are yours by divine right. They are encoded in your being. They come to you not when you stress, but when you trust. Not when you force, but when you open. That is the mystery. The greatest ideas are not summoned by pressure but invited through presence. And so when you sleep tonight, do not look for answers, become the answer. Sleep in the identity of one whose mind is already fertile with divine inspiration, and you will rise with insight so profound it carries peace with it. Spiritual wealth is never selfish. The ideas that generate true abundance do not take from the world, they bless it, they heal it, they lift others as they lift you. A divine idea carries with it the vibration of service, of expansion, of win-win energy. You do not manifest wealth by asking, "How do I get more?" You manifest it by asking, "What is mine to give?" And the moment you ask from a place of wholeness, not lack, the idea arrives. It may come in a dream. It may arrive with a thought while brushing your teeth. It may be a phrase you hear repeated in your spirit. Trust it, honor it, follow it. You must now stop separating the spiritual from the practical. Wealth is not unholy. Money is not a sin. Money is a mirror. It reflects your inner story. And when your story changes from striving to sufficiency, from panic to purpose, from lack to legacy, then the ideas you attract will match that state. You must begin to see that wealth is not the goal. It is the evidence, the byproduct, the outflow of a soul that is aligned with giving its gift freely. Do not look for wealth. Look for the idea that excites your spirit, the action that feels like joy, the solution that feels like truth. That is the wealth-generating idea. So tonight, lay your head on the pillow as one who is ready. Not ready to chase, but ready to receive, ready to allow, ready to remember. There is no more striving in you, only knowing, only clarity, only openness to the idea that already belongs to you, waiting for your soul to say yes. Sleep is not merely rest, it is sacred passage. It is the golden gateway through which spirit whispers and reality reshapes. The world sees sleep as the end of activity, but the mystic knows it as the beginning of creation. It is the divine threshold where your conscious mind surrenders its grip and your subconscious rises as the silent architect of all that you experience. In that precious descent into sleep, your assumptions are no longer resisted. They go unchallenged, and in that openness, a new world is formed. Not tomorrow, but now, in the realm where all things begin. Sleep is the divine womb, the temple of transformation, the altar where assumptions become agreements with the universe. What you feel as you drift into slumber becomes the seed, not the wish, not the begging, the feeling, the assumption, the identity you wear when the world goes quiet and your breath slows. That is what is impressed upon the infinite mind. You cannot fake it here. You cannot perform. You must become. Not by force, but by natural surrender. In this moment, you are not acting. You are aligning. And once you align, creation begins. The mystics knew this well. Neville whispered of this sacred gate. Florence Scovel Shinn taught of the law that responds not to words, but to vibration. And still now, the ancient truth remains. The state you enter sleep in, you carry into the world of form. You may speak affirmations all day long, but it is the assumption you fall asleep in that becomes law. You are never unconscious in sleep. You are simply awake to a deeper layer of self. And that self listens. That self creates. That self builds the bridges your conscious mind cannot yet see. So you must learn to treat sleep with reverence. Do not fall into it accidentally. Do not bring worry to bed and expect peace to greet you at sunrise. What you bring to the altar is what is multiplied. If you sleep in fear, you teach the subconscious that fear is your god. If you sleep in lack, you announce to the divine that abundance is foreign to you. But if you sleep in wealth, not the numbers, not the things, but the feeling of wealth, then the whole universe begins to arrange itself to mirror that state. You do not need to understand how this works. You need only to use it. You do not need to master it. You need only to surrender to it. The more naturally you assume the feeling of the fulfilled desire before sleep, the more rapidly the outer world must conform. Not by chance, not by exception, but by law. Because the subconscious does not create what you hope, it creates what you are. And in sleep, who you are is determined by the mood, the tone, the inner conversation that carries you across the threshold. You are speaking to the infinite with your feeling. Make that feeling a prophecy fulfilled. Let the bed be your sanctuary. Let your breath be your offering. Let your final thought not be of struggle but of satisfaction, not of reaching but of receiving, not of doubt but of knowing. Feel what it would feel like to wake up inspired, to rise with an idea that changes everything. Imagine hearing the very solution you've been waiting for echoing in your spirit. Let your mind rehearse the gratitude of having already received. That is your holy act. That is how you honor the law. And when you understand this truth, not just intellectually but experientially, you will never again treat sleep as passive. You will treat it as sacred, knowing it is the golden gateway through which the invisible becomes inevitable. You are not losing time when you sleep. You are gaining alignment. You are not drifting away. You are arriving. You are not pausing your manifestation. You are accelerating it in the most divine way. And as you slip beneath the surface of awareness, know this: the creative forces are listening. They are watching. They are waiting to receive the signal of your inner state. Give them something beautiful to multiply. Give them something certain. Give them your fulfilled self. You do not become prosperous by chasing money. You become prosperous by aligning with the inner man who already walks in abundance. You must stop seeing wealth as something outside of you. It is not a destination. It is a state. It is not found in the numbers or the bank. It is found in the knowing. And that knowing must be worn not as a wish, but as an identity. You must rise each day and return each night as the one who already is, already has, already lives in the overflow. That is alignment. That is how the inner man, your true self, becomes the channel through which wealth flows effortlessly. You cannot impress the subconscious with begging. It hears only conviction, and conviction is felt in the vibration of your being. The inner man does not need proof. He needs only feeling. And once that feeling is accepted, the outer world rushes to conform. If you want the world to treat you as one who is prosperous, you must first see yourself that way within. Feel the posture of abundance, the grace, the peace, the generosity. Do not perform it. Embody it. Breathe as one who is not in need, but in knowing. Speak as one who is not seeking, but sourcing. For the inner man does not depend on appearances, he commands them. When you align with prosperity, you stop consulting circumstances. You no longer ask the world for permission to feel rich. You assume the feeling, and the world must rearrange. This is the mystery of creation. You do not wait for the evidence. You live from the evidence that already exists within. What you feel real becomes real. What you assume to be true in the silence becomes fact in the visible. You do not need to know how. You need only to persist in the state of already being, already having, already knowing. Your inner man is not the one you pretend to be when you feel hopeful. He is the one you return to when doubt whispers and fear claws. He is the one who stands unmoved, rooted in the conviction that the unseen is more real than the seen, that the invisible world is not the future, it is the foundation. And when you build your assumptions on that foundation, the outer must mirror it like glass. Not maybe, not eventually, inevitably. This is not personal, this is law. You must feed the inner man not with logic but with feeling, not with facts but with vision. You must rehearse the scene of success, not in fantasy but in frequency, until it becomes more familiar than lack, until the idea of not having feels foreign to your nervous system, until generosity feels normal, until overflow feels like your home. That is the sign you are aligned. Not when the outer world shifts, but when the inner one does. When you stop hoping and start knowing. When you stop striving and start assuming. This is the art of spiritual wealth. It is not manipulation. It is not pretense. It is truth remembered. You are not creating something from nothing. You are selecting something from everything. And what determines your selection is not willpower, but identity. The state you occupy, the self you inhabit when no one is watching. That is what creation responds to. That is what the universe echoes. So tonight, return to your inner sanctuary. Strip away the garments of lack and clothe yourself in certainty. Feel the rhythm of prosperity in your breath. Let your body memorize the posture of already having. Relax into it. Let it become familiar. Let it become natural. Do not visit this state like a tourist. Dwell in it like a native. Live there until it becomes your dwelling place. And when the outer world offers contradiction, do not argue. Do not react. Simply return. Return to the state. Return to the knowing. Return to the inner man who lacks nothing. For that is where your wealth lives, and that is who you truly are. There are those who have never read the sacred texts, never studied the law of assumption, never heard the name of Neville, but they have lived the law unknowingly and reaped the fruit of their inner alignment. Because the law does not require your education, it responds to your state. And state is not taught, it is chosen, again and again, in silence, in the unseen. There is the story of the man who fell asleep each night, seeing himself not as broke but as a blessing. He would lie in bed and imagine walking into his office with a sense of direction, clarity, ease. At the time, he had no plan, no product, no business. But what he had was faith. Not loud, not desperate, just quiet, steady, felt, knowing. Within weeks, ideas began to arrive. Ideas that felt like home. He acted on one, not out of panic, but peace. And within months, his finances, once dry and uncertain, were flowing in directions he never anticipated. Not because he hustled, because he assumed, because he believed the feeling before the evidence. Then there was the woman who could not seem to get ahead. Always working, always surviving, never creating. Every night she fell asleep rehearsing her worries, until one evening something broke in her. A tiredness deeper than physical exhaustion. A spiritual exhaustion from begging the universe to change. That night, instead of pleading, she thanked. She closed her eyes and thanked God for the inspired idea already on its way. She saw herself smiling at her journal in the morning, writing down the divine nudge she received during the night. And she felt the truth of it so vividly, her body relaxed for the first time in weeks. The next morning, she woke with a sentence echoing in her mind, a sentence that turned into a concept that turned into her first income stream beyond her job. One seed, planted in feeling, watered in sleep, bloomed in the light of knowing. There are countless like them, silent mystics, ordinary people choosing extraordinary alignment. People who understand that the most powerful actions are not taken with the hands, but with the heart. People who have stopped telling the story of lack and started telling the truth of who they are. They do not chase success, they become it. They do not wait for breakthrough, they are the breakthrough. Because they have learned the secret, the inner state precedes the outer shift. Always. Even Neville himself did not teach from theory. He spoke from testimony. He told of the time he imagined his brother's store thriving, overflowing with customers, though the world said otherwise. And it came to pass. Not because it was probable, but because it was assumed, because someone dared to feel it real, because someone dared to believe the law would not fail. The law never fails. It is always fulfilling the command of your dominant state. These are not miracles. They are manifestations, echoes of alignment, evidence of law. And what they show you is this: wealth-generating ideas are not for the few. They are for the ready, for the receptive, for the one who chooses to sleep not in fear but in faith, not in desperation but in dominion. So as you hear these stories, do not admire them as distant wonders. Receive them as confirmations of your own path. Feel their essence in your bones. Let them remind you that the same power lives in you. The same law is at your feet. The same current of divine wisdom flows through your soul. You do not need to be special. You need only to be still. Still enough to hear the whisper. Still enough to feel the knowing. Still enough to receive what was already written for you long before the world taught you to doubt. Because the wealth-generating idea you seek is already seeking you. It only waits for your alignment, for your sleep to become sanctuary, for your heart to remember what your spirit has always known. I am the one. I am ready. I am aligned. And so it is. There is no ritual more powerful than the one you do with full belief, no practice more sacred than the one done just before sleep, when the veil is thin and the soul is open. The sleep ritual is not a performance, it is a return to the knowing that you are the gatekeeper of your reality, that your inner atmosphere just before you drift into the unseen is the very place where your tomorrows are conceived. It is here, in this holy window, that the soil of the subconscious opens wide, and whatever you plant will take root without resistance. So begin gently, begin slowly, not as a task, but as a devotion. As the world grows quiet and the light fades, allow your inner light to rise. Breathe in the awareness that you are supported, that you are heard, that the idea you seek is already making its way toward you, not because you chase it, but because you have made room for it. The room is your state. The room is your silence. The room is your willingness to believe that what you feel before sleep becomes the shape of your waking world. Close your eyes, relax your limbs, loosen the armor. There is nothing to defend, nothing to prove. Let the mind slow down and the body soften. Let the breath become sacred. Inhale ease, exhale expectation. And now, here is the secret. Assume the identity of the one who has already received. Feel what it would feel like to wake up inspired, to know, to feel a clarity so deep, so undeniable that it guides you straight into action without confusion. Say within, softly, I attract wealth-generating ideas in my sleep, not as a mantra to convince, but as a statement of fact. Say it once, let it echo, let the body feel it, let the chest expand with the peace of having, with the stillness of knowing. Then, visualize, not the full picture, just a fragment, a glimpse of the result, a notebook filled with ideas, a message received, a conversation flowing with divine timing. See it not as distant, but as done. Feel the gratitude, the sweet, restful gratitude that you do not have to figure it all out, that the idea will come in the night like dew on the grass, gentle, soft, certain, that you will rise not to worry, but to write, not to chase, but to follow the flow already laid before you. This is not imagination, it is instruction. This is not fantasy, it is form before form. When you impress the subconscious with such peace, it obeys. It carries your feeling into the deep, and it returns with the form that matches it. Do not drift into sleep with noise, with doubt, with digital distraction. That is not ritual, that is resistance. Instead, treat your sleep as you would treat a sacred ceremony, with intention, with purity, with presence. If the day was full of chaos, let the night be full of correction. If the world spoke scarcity, let your soul now speak sufficiency. If your mind was scattered, let your heart now unify its direction. And as you drift, whisper once more, not to be heard, but to be felt. I am aligned. I am available. I receive divine ideas that bring wealth and bless the world. Let that be the final word. Let that be the final feeling. And let the angels of your subconscious carry that truth deep into the place where all creation begins. Do not open your eyes again with questions. Open them with expectancy, with ease, with joy. The ritual is complete, not because of what you said, but because of what you felt. You felt it real, and therefore it is. Now that the seed is planted, do not return to doubt. Do not water your garden with worry. The work is done in the unseen. The harvest has already begun. Your only task now is to remain in a state, the inner posture of knowing. You are not waiting, you are receiving. You are not watching the clock, you are observing the unfolding. Creation does not need your help, it needs your harmony, it needs your steadiness. It needs your assumption that what you asked for is already on its way. Let the world do what it does, let appearances do what they will. Your inner world is the cause, your state is the axis on which your reality spins. If you waver, return. If you forget, remember. If you feel lost, re-enter the feeling. The wealth-generating idea is not lost, it is not hiding. It is responding to the signal you send from within. That signal is not desperation, it is certainty. Not noise, it is stillness. Not trying, it is trusting. So act not from panic, but from peace. Move not because you fear missing out, but because your spirit is pulled. Say yes only when your body sings yes. Speak only when your voice echoes with alignment. Every action, every word, every step must now be born from the identity you assumed last night. You are no longer the one who seeks, you are the one who has. Your movement must now match your knowing. There is nothing outside of you that must change for the inner to be true. And yet, once the inner is accepted, the outer must conform. This is the law, and you are now the lawgiver. You are no longer reacting to life, you are authoring it. And what you write in the stillness of night becomes the script the world must follow. Every character, every opportunity, every inspired nudge, the world will begin to shape itself around the story you have declared in spirit. You will rise one morning, not with a thunderclap, but with a whisper, a gentle inner knowing, a sentence in your soul, an idea that lands not in your intellect, but in your being. And you will know, this is it. This is the divine idea. This is the answer. This is the instruction, and you will not question it because it will feel familiar, as if it has always belonged to you, because it has. So do not look outward for proof. Let the proof rise from within. Let the evidence be your peace. Let the confirmation be your calm. Others may not see it yet, but you see it, you feel it, you know it, and that knowing is the bridge. The idea has already arrived. It is already forming, already unfolding. Your part is to stay available, stay receptive, stay in state. Say once more, not to convince, but to consecrate. I attract wealth-generating ideas in my sleep. I rise each day guided, supplied, inspired, and in tune with divine intelligence. Then let it go. Surrender the mechanics, forget the how, and walk through your life as the one who already has. Embody the energy, reflect the result, be the vessel through which divine inspiration flows freely. That is your action, that is your movement, that is your miracle. It is done. It is remembered. It is real. And so it manifests.